So why would Oda make Brook's backstory resemble the backstory of the entire crew? Because Brook represents memory. He is the musician of the Straw Hat Pirates, and songs are one of the oldest ways human beings preserve stories. Brook is also the oldest Straw Hat. His life stretches across multiple generations, governments, pirate eras, etc. By giving him pieces of everyone else's pain, Oda transforms Brook into something more than a crew's musician. I believe that Brook's backstory is every Straw Hat's backstory combined. Oda may be doing something with Brook's backstory that we have never seen him do with any other Straw Hat. Because the more we learn about Brook's past in Asperia, the less it feels like we are learning about Brook. Instead, it feels like Oda is taking pieces of the backstories of every other Straw Hat, combining them, and placing them inside the life of the oldest member of the crew. And that would make Brook's story incredibly important. Brook is the Straw Hat who has lived the longest. He comes from an era before Roger became Pirate King, before the great era of pirates, and before most of the crew was even born. So, what if Oda is using the final major Straw Hat backstory to create an emotional summary of the entire crew? Not because Brook secretly experienced the exact same life as everyone else, but because his story contains variations of the same wounds, dreams, and relationships that eventually brought all 10 Straw Hats together. The first parallel is Franky. Franky was abandoned by his biological parents and eventually survived by building things from whatever material he could find. Under Tom, that talent developed into shipbuilding. Even as a child, Franky was already creating his battle Frankies from scraps and discarded materials. Brook also begins his story surrounded by garbage. He lives in Asperia's junkyard and creates a makeshift violin from scraps. That crude instrument becomes the foundation of the talent that will eventually define his entire life. Franky takes garbage and turns it into ships. Brook takes garbage and turns it into music. Both characters begin with something the world has discarded, but instead of accepting that they are worthless because of where they come from, they create something extraordinary from it. That is also what the Straw Hats do with people. The world looks at them and sees criminals, monsters, failures, and unwanted children. Luffy sees a crew. Brook's connection to Asperia also resembles Jinbe's relationship with Ryugu Kingdom. Before joining Luffy, both men already lived entire lives as warriors and pirates. Jinbe grew up in the slums of Fishman Island, served Neptune's kingdom, and became a member of the Sun Pirates, captained that crew, and later became a warlord. Brook grew up in the slums of Asperia, eventually served Asperia's royal family, rose through its military ranks, and eventually became a pirate with the Rumbar Pirates. They are the two Straw Hats who joined Luffy after already carrying the responsibility of experienced leaders. Both are also connected to nations whose people are hit with suffering and political conflict. Their loyalty is not merely to a single ruler, it is to the people and the ideals that that ruler is supposed to protect. And both men eventually have to decide whether honoring their past means remaining trapped by it or carrying its lessons into the future, a new future with Luffy. Brook's friendship with Reuven also strongly resembles Luffy's childhood with Ace and Sabo. Brook grows up in extreme poverty, separated from the privileged world around him. He survives through whatever food and resources he can find, and after being captured, he is beaten by Marines for information he does not possess. Similarly, in the ASL flashback, we see Luffy living in the Great Terminal, while Sabo decides to hang out with him and Ace over living a life of a world noble, much like Prince Reuven and Brook. Like Brook, Luffy is also tortured by Porshimi in an attempt to discover the location of Ace and Sabo's treasure. But the strongest connection here is the sake. Luffy, Ace, and Sabo became brothers by exchanging sake cups. The ceremony turns a friendship between three abandoned children into a family of their own choosing. Brook and Reuven also share sake and form a bond that transcends social class. One is a starving child from the junkyard. The other is royalty. That should have made them strangers. Instead, they became brothers. In both stories, sake represents something more powerful than blood or status. It represents the freedom to decide who your family will be. Brook's relationship with Reuven also carries the emotional structure of Nami and Belmare's. Nami begins life as an orphan before Belmare rescues her, raises her, and gives her a home. Belmare does not simply save Nami physically, she gives Nami an identity and a family. Reuven does something similar for Brook. Brook has lost his biological family and is surviving alone in the junkyard. Reuven sees value in him, rescues him, brings him into the kingdom, and gives him access to a life that had been denied to him. Reuven becomes more than Brook's friend. He becomes the person who opens the door to Brook's future. That is why losing Reuven is not simply the death of a king. For Brook, it is the loss of the person who proved that an unwanted child could still be loved. Unfortunately, Brook and Nami both witnessed the deaths of their benefactors firsthand. Arlong guns down Belmere, and somehow, even more tragically, Princess Shuri takes out her own father after she is possessed in front of Brook. Brook's relationship with the people of Esperia also mirrors Usopp's relationship with Syrup Village. Usopp becomes known for lying. He uses those lies to entertain himself, attract attention, and disguise his loneliness. Eventually, the villagers become so irritated by him that they stop taking him seriously. Brook experiences something similar through music. Music is the purest form of expression of Brook's soul, but many people in Esperia do not appreciate it. His performances annoy them, and the very talent that will eventually make him the world-famous Soul King initially makes him a polarizing figure. Usopp is rejected because of his stories. Brook is rejected because of his songs. But in both cases, the trait society finds irritating eventually becomes the trait that saves people. Usopp's lies can give people hope and have many a time even saved the day. Brook's music can restore their spirits. Oda repeatedly shows us that a person's greatest gift may first appear to the world as their greatest nuisance. Brook may share his strongest parallel with Sanji. Both experience starvation as children. For Sanji, starvation becomes the defining trauma that explains why he refuses to waste food or allow another person to go hungry. Brook loses his family because of starvation under Esperia's class system. Poverty is not merely a part of his childhood. It is the force that takes his family away from him. Both characters are then rescued by men to whom they feel they owe their lives. Zeph saves Sanji, Reuven saves Brook. Afterward, both Sanji and Brook place their personal dreams on the back burner because they believe repaying the debt is more important. Sanji dreams of finding the All Blue, but he remains at Baratier because he cannot bring himself to leave Zeph. Brook dreams of becoming a pirate, but he remains in service to Esperia because Reuven gave him food, shelter, education, and purpose. Neither man is physically imprisoned. They are imprisoned by gratitude. And that is one of the most important ideas in One Piece. Sometimes good people can unintentionally become the chains that prevent us from pursuing our dreams. It takes Luffy or somebody embodying freedom, the freedom that Luffy represents, to show them that the people who truly love them would never want their kindness to become their prison.
Yeah, I'm so fresh like the morning, mouth wide open like they yawning. Every time they see me, they in G-Shock. Homie, this is too far. Homie, I feel too alive. You can see me like Illuminati. You can see me like Illuminati. But I'm shining so bright, so bright. Don't come and try to share some of this light now. Give me a beat and I control it like a maestro. Ladies on a mission, they be trying to get me wiped up. Shawty, wait a minute, can't tell if I like ya. Gotta make sure you know how to shake it like a bartender. Team with me and they all winners. And you know we ballin' all winner.
Brook's connection with Lady Candle appears to echo Zoro and Kuina. Zoro and Kuina share swordsmanship. Kuina becomes the rival Zoro respects most and the person whose strength pushes him towards greatness. Candle teaches Brook swordsmanship and proper etiquette from a very young age, and he falls in love with her. While Zoro and Kuina's relationship was more rivalry than passion, given their age, the stronger female swordsmanship motif is still present in both of their stories. Like Kuina, Candle dies suddenly, leaving a hole in Brook's heart. But the key similarity is not simply that both women die. It is that both Zoro and Brook continue living as evidence that these women existed. Zoro carries Kuina's sword and their shared dream with him. Brook constantly displays the swordsmanship and etiquette Candle taught him all those years ago. Brook's story also connects directly to Chopper and Dr. Hiruluk. Hiruluk believed that a country was sick when the hearts of its people were sick. His dream of curing Drum Island was not built around conventional medicine alone. He wanted to create a change of heart. That is exactly what music does in One Piece. Music does not cure a disease in the traditional sense, but it heals despair, it restores memory, strengthens relationships, and gives people the will to continue living. When Wapol takes the 20 doctors for himself, he removes Drum Island's access to medicine. Similarly, when Esperia loses access to its instruments and musical culture, the country is deprived of Brook's form of medicine. As a result, Esperia begins to fall into despair just like Drum Kingdom. Chopper heals the body, Brook heals the soul. That's why Brook's music has always been more than entertainment. Whether he is comforting Laboon, performing Bing Sake for his dying crew, or becoming the Soul King, Brook uses music to keep people emotionally alive. Hiruluk says, a person dies when they are forgotten. Brook's music makes forgetting him impossible. Just look at Shuri, who still enjoys Brook's music instinctively, even without memory of him. Now, Robin's parallel may reveal the darkest part of Esperia. As a child, Robin is drawn towards the Tree of Knowledge and the forbidden history inside it. She wants to enter the basement library and study with the scholars and understand the poneglyphs. But knowledge is restricted. The world government decides that certain information is too dangerous for ordinary people to possess. The scholars refused to allow Robin into the library, and she was forced to sneak in and teach herself true history of the world and its forbidden language. Brook experiences a musical version of that exclusion. He watches other children receive formal instruction while he, a poor child from the junkyard, is denied access to Asperia's instruments and schools. Robin is kept away from the books. Brook is kept away from instruments. Both children stand outside institutions containing the very thing their souls are drawn naturally toward. And in both stories, what begins as social exclusion eventually becomes political destruction. O'Hara's knowledge threatens the world government, so much so that a Buster Call is ordered to wipe out the island and its inhabitants. In Asperia, the desire to take Shuri to the Holy Land leads to a war. But removing a land of music is also in the world government's method of operations, in my opinion. The world government destroys libraries, cultures, songs, and anything capable of carrying truth into the future. Robin preserves history through language. Brook preserves history through music. And there's one final layer. Brook's new backstory does not replace his original tragedy with the Rumbar Pirates. It makes that tragedy even worse. Before Brook ever watched his pirate crew die, he had already lost his biological family. He had already known starvation. He had already been unwanted. He had already found a new family in Reuven, Candel, Shuri, and Asperia. He had already lost that life too. The Rumbar Pirates were not Brook's first found family. They were another family he built after surviving the destruction of the one before it. That means the scene of Brook playing the piano with his crewmates collapsing around him is not the first time Brook watches his world disappear. It's history repeating itself. Brook's true curse is not simply that he cannot die. It's that he keeps out surviving everyone he loves. So why would Oda make Brook's backstory resemble the backstory of the entire crew? Because Brook represents memory. He is the musician of the Straw Hat Pirates, and songs are one of the oldest ways human beings preserve stories. Brook is also the oldest Straw Hat. His life stretches across multiple generations, governments, pirate eras, etc. By giving him pieces of everyone else's pain, Oda transforms Brook into something more than a crew's musician. He understands Luffy's brotherhood, Nami's loss, Usopp's rejection, Sanji's starvation and debt, Zoro's devotion to a fallen companion, Chopper's belief in emotional healing, Robin's forbidden curiosity, Franky's ability to create beauty from discarded material, and Jinbe's burden as a veteran warrior carrying the fate of a kingdom. Brook can stand beside every Straw Hat and say, in some way, I know what it means to lose what you lost, to feel what you feel. That may be why Oda waited so long to reveal this portion of his life. Brook joined the crew last among the original pre-time skip members, but chronologically, his story began before everyone else's. His backstory feels like an amalgamation because Brook is not merely another person following Luffy. He is proof that the same struggle has existed across generations. Kings and commoners, humans and fishmen, doctors and musicians, scholars and shipwrights, every generation produces people whose dreams are suppressed by poverty, obligation, prejudice, or the world government. And every generation produces people willing to risk everything for freedom. So Brook has always been a character built around contradictions. He is dead, yet he values life more than anything else. He has no heart, yet he may possess one of the most emotional stories in the series. He is the crew's comic relief, yet he endured more grief than any of the other Straw Hats. And now Oda has been revealing the greatest contradiction of all. The Straw Hat who seemed to have the least relevant backstory may actually possess a piece of everyone's. Brook is Franky's discarded creation, Jinbe's veteran warrior, Luffy's chosen brother, Nami's rescued orphan, Usopp's ridiculed performer, Sanji's starving dreamer, Zoro's grieving swordsman, Chopper's spiritual doctor, and Robin's forbidden student. Brook's music is not simply his dream. It's the sound created when all those experiences are brought together. A song about inherited will, a song about lost families, a song about dreams delayed but never abandoned, and most importantly, a song that ensures the people Brook loved will never truly die. Because as long as Brook continues to play, they will never be forgotten. Whew. Bruh. Oh, man. Thank you. I hope y'all like that.